What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is a different kind of video than I normally make. Obviously I'm not usually using the face cam, but in this video I wanted to do something that I haven't actually seen any other YouTubers do, or at least Rollercoaster Tycoon YouTubers do, which is that I'm going to react to some of my old parks that I built in Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. Before I got OpenRCT2, I actually played Rollercoaster Tycoon Classic quite a bit, built a bunch of parks in that. And after even I got OpenRCT, I made some parks that honestly now I look at and I'm like, this is kind of whatever, not really great. But the point of this video is to show everybody, like, hey, you don't have to, like, you don't have to, like, I get a lot of comments, you know, like, of people on Facebook and people on, you know, like, just social media, even on my YouTube channel. People will say, like, hey, I'm really bad at scenery, I want to get better, all that stuff. And this video is just to show everybody, like, yeah, you know, you don't have to be, you don't have to start out that great. I certainly didn't. But this will kind of show everybody, like, hey, this is, it just takes practice, just like anything else. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one. All right, so this first park is going to be one that I built in Rollercoaster Tycoon Classic. This one is just a park that it's called Forest Funland, and I just tried to really work on, you know, designing buildings, and that was sort of the main thing, was the buildings aspect of it, and to just kind of get better with scenery. Overall, I'd say this is pretty decent. The one thing is just, like, I didn't actually do any terrain editing. It's just all flat. It's all just grass, and there just wasn't a lot of, I just didn't really do a whole lot to it other than the roller coasters. I think the roller coasters look pretty decent. I think overall, I think all of it looks okay. I think the buildings could use some work. There's just a bunch of these, when you start building these buildings, the thing is you start building these weird, I don't know how to describe them. They're like these arches that don't actually exist in, you know, in real architecture. I'd say that's a pretty good indication right here. This red one is a good indication of what a real coaster would, you know, a real building looks like. But a lot of these are kind of, you know, you get a little bit too crazy with the roofs. And I'll admit, in Classic, there's not a whole lot of options in terms of roof designs. You know, that's why I like having OpenRCT2, and I like having custom scenery, because, you know, that's it is very helpful to have those extra options. But even without the options, you can still make a really solid park in the game. So that's the first park. Not super upset with that. I think that actually looks okay. Just some of the buildings could use some work. Foliage, all that stuff. Oh, here we go. This is one that, this is a classic. I actually distinctly remember sharing this on the Reddit subreddit r/RCT, and one of my best performing posts on the subreddit. So this one is one where I just kind of started to experiment with scenery, because I was always somebody, like a lot of people, I didn't know where to start, you know. How do I start designing buildings? How do I start messing around with scenery? And, you know, like I said in that last video, I just kind of went a little nuts with the roofs. I mean, that's something that takes a lot of practice. As you can see, all of these have like these like crazy diagonal roofs that are just so weird looking, and it just doesn't look right. And it's a good start, you know, overall. I think it looks not the worst, but, you know, I think this white one looks okay, but it's just, you never see that in real life. So, you know, if you're not great at designing scenery and stuff, it's okay. You'll get better. My channel is proof of that. So that's my Bumbly Beach one. I remember being super proud of that when I built it, and then now I look at it and I'm like, that's not as good as I remember. Alright, so this third one is a Italian villa themed thing, and this was the first time that I built something and was like, wow, this looks really good. This looks really great. And I'll be honest with you, I look at it now and I'm like, this is about as the best you can do in terms of capability with OpenRCT2, or with Classic or the regular game. Without some of the tools that you have in OpenRCT2, sometimes you just can't get the look you're going for. In this case, this is about as good as it can look, I think. I think this looks really solid. I pretty much did exactly what I was trying to do. And like I said, it's an Italian villa. I think it looks like that. It's like, it has all these, it's like green and lush, and I don't know how to, it's like the Amalfi Coast. I don't know if that's a reference a lot of people, you know about, but that was the idea. I just designed a bunch of these buildings. But again, the hard part about building without custom scenery and without extra tools is that some of these buildings look the same, and most of them look the same. Like, it doesn't look that bad just because it has like sort of a theme going, but if I were to do this again, I would definitely change the color of some of these buildings. So that's kind of something to think about. I might redo this park someday. It looks, honestly, I like it. It looks pretty good overall. It's just kind of, it's just a little, it just needs a little oomph, I think. It's almost there. It's pretty good. I am actually pretty proud of this one. And if you guys can't tell, I actually designed this park on the same map that I designed the other one. That's why the outside is green and the inside is sandy. I just kind of, it was the same scenario, but I just saved it with a different file. So that's there, no big deal. But alright, now we're going to move on to the parks I built in OpenRCT2. After I got the plugin, whatever it's called. What's that called? The open source game engine. After I got that. Let's jump into it. Alright, so now we are moving into the OpenRCT parks that I got, that I started building after I kind of got into, having, this tile inspector and being able to disable the clearance checks and having some custom scenery options. This is how I kind of started getting a little bit better. After I had built that last park, which admittedly I think is still pretty solid, here's how I kind of expanded on that. And honestly, I think I kind of got worse before I got better, which is weird to say. After I got good, I had to kind of get used to the interface of OpenRCT2. So let's go ahead and start with this first one. It's just called Wooded Park, where you can even see it where, I got these custom scenery objects and I didn't quite know what to do with them yet. I wasn't sure how to use them correctly. I think this car ride looks pretty solid, but everything else looks kind of weird and funky looking. It just doesn't look realistic. Buildings just aren't built like this, with this weird thing jutting out here, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look completely right. Is it bad? Is it like awful? No, it's okay, I guess, but you can tell I wasn't quite sure how to do it yet. Like, I wasn't sure how to integrate the scenery pieces into a natural looking scenario, or into a natural looking park. It just didn't look quite right. So that's the first one, and there's kind of a lot of that, I'll be honest. These first couple of parks, there's a few. This one, I just called that one Wooded Park, Woods Park or something. This one's called Hillside, and I remember having this idea that I wanted to start in the middle, like this strip in the middle of the park, and then have kind of stuff on the outside. Turns out I only had enough room for a coaster on each side, and here you can kind of see me starting to use the pieces a little better. A little bit too bright with some of it. There's just not really a theme going on. It's rainbow, I guess. Like, it's bright and colorful, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it just, like this yellow coaster with a yellow roof doesn't exist. And the coaster looks okay. I mean, the design of it's fine, I guess. It's not super, it has some pieces that I change, but it's not terrible. I'll be honest, I've always been pretty decent at building coasters, especially as I got a little older and started playing the game a bit. As a kid, couldn't build coasters, then that came kind of quickly. And then I have this wooden coaster, which I think that's a pretty decent design. I don't like this chain lift thing, but I probably should have just done something a little bit different, but you win some, you lose some. And again, this building looks weird. It has this thing jutting out. I think if I left it without that, I think it's not terrible design. You could tell me trying to do too much, what buildings look like in real life, but it's hard to imagine it and then put it in the game. And in this case, you can see where I'm like, well, buildings have windows, but it looks too empty. And a lot of times you just need to, spruce it up a little bit with a post, or, some of those, the steel thing. I don't remember what it's called, but there's a piece that anyway, the point is that I didn't quite do it correctly, and this is my favorite because there's just a little like the top of the station of the entrance poking out the top. Rookie mistake, obviously, but again, it's just like this is the most accurate roof and building design in terms of like, I could potentially see a building that looks like this if I got rid of that front part. You know, if I got rid of the front part, made it a little bit shorter, I could totally see this existing in real life, but obviously, it's just doesn't, it's not, it's like, so, it's really close. I think this is where I was starting to get close, but just not quite there, you know what I mean? So what we're gonna do is move on to the third one of these. Okay, so this was the first time I really experimented with the wooden pieces. And even now, like the mine and alpine themed things have wooden pieces, and I finally learned how to use the tile inspector when I built this park. And these buildings you can already see are starting to look better. Don't love this food court. For some reason, even on, you can watch on my channel where I had videos where I built these giant buildings that had like 9 stalls in them. And that's just not how, that's not how it works at a theme park. You just don't have this giant, it's not like a mall food court, you know? For some reason I had a mall food court in my mind. But like overall, I think this is starting to get there. Like this design isn't terrible. And I remember this one was like one where I was like, oh, that actually looks pretty good. I actually like this. I shared it on Reddit again and was like, oh, this looks really good. I like this. And yeah, so, and this is actually on the intro of my channel trailer. It's in my channel trailer. So, fun fact, this is, if you've watched the channel trailer, like a little Easter egg, I actually, when I was editing that, there's, the mouse is actually on screen. I remember every shot I was meticulous about, like, don't leave the mouse on the screen, and, so I'd start recording and then move the mouse off the screen. This was the one, when I put that in the video, that was the one shot where I completely forgot to do that. Just a little tidbit for my channel, for all you 135 people, which I appreciate all of you, but, just a fun little fact, I guess. So, yeah, for whatever reason, I started just naming the parks just what the ground was. This is just called Grass Park. Again, close, but this isn't quite what it's just not quite realistic. This, I'll be honest, there's some charm to this. I like this upper deck kind of area, but this was where I was really just trying to kind of get in with those, like, quarter tile pieces that you use to accent a building or a wall or whatever, and I didn't quite know how to do it yet. That's not bad. I built a lot of things like this right here and this right here, and here's where I kind of started to get a little bit, like, I started to develop a style a little bit where, like, a lot of my coasters now have like a wooden station platform like this with the, you know, the entrance and exit will be right here, and then have two fence pieces that lead the guests right into the ride. I would say the closest out of all of these is this green one. Obviously, roof's never this color, but aside from that, this is a pretty decent looking building. I think that looks okay. Again, I think if I got rid of this and maybe did something different, maybe increase the height of this, there's a lot I could have done with this, but, you know. Again, you win some, you lose some. It is what it is. So, now, the next one, so this, I mean, again, this is me trying to practice right here. So this is all about practice. All of these parks were me trying to practice and learn how to get better at using OpenRCT2 and all that stuff. So I built this, like, courtyard thing. No people, no rides, no nothing. It's just all scenery. Oops, all scenery, haha. And the whole thing was, I was just like, okay, I'm going to make each building a different color, and I'm going to make every, it's all going to be, I'm just going to make every building has to have a different thing on it, and it has to have a different design. So I think I did that pretty well. These are different colors, but this was where I was starting to try and learn how to use all of the scenery pieces, and it's the first time that I'm like, yeah, that looks appropriate. You know what I mean? That looks like a thing you might see in real life. Maybe not. I don't know. But, so that's that, and then, oh, the intro to my channel, or the banner. and the intro to some of my videos is this part. I'm not sure why I decided to do this, but I'll be honest with you, I think it looks okay. Definitely could use some shrubs and scenery and, you know, like some bushes and stuff, but overall, could be worse. You know, I feel like I was starting to figure it out here. I definitely got this front part looking pretty good. The only thing is that, like, I used to build these these walkways that don't look like stairs, really. And I definitely have a lot of issues at this time with the tile inspector, where, I don't know if you guys, this before the latest edition of OpenRCT2, there was some issues with the pathway tool that they fixed, but I was having some issues with that, so I actually ended up not finishing this part. But now you get to see it in all its glory and all that stuff. So I guess we'll go ahead and do one more. We'll go ahead and go with this. So this, I think, was kind of the turning point for me, where this was right before I started the channel, I think, and I was just starting to try to figure out how building scenery and buildings and terraforming and all that stuff was starting to work. I wanted to make my own version of Six Flags Over Texas, and I obviously never finished it, but again, I was having some issues with that pathway tool not working, so I never finished it. But I think there's some good stuff in here. Like, I think this mine coaster looks pretty solid, and I like this sort of indented thing with this building, and I finally learned how to disable the clearance checks, and I think overall this building looks pretty good. I really was happy with this race car track, and you know, if you've seen all of my videos, then you've probably seen this in one or two of them. And yeah, this is where I kind of first started to kind of turn a corner a little bit and started to get a little bit better. Here, you know, you can see where, like, I built this orange thing. It's called Vector. I don't know if you guys have seen Despicable Me, but I look like him. I'm wearing orange today, even. So that was sort of just like a joke. It was supposed to be a joke, but I used to build a lot of coasters with this design. That's fine, I guess. But so I guess that's pretty much it. We'll go ahead and you know, so we can kind of compare all of those parks to the park that I just finished yesterday. This is what I called Alpine Park, and you can just see it's got more fluidity. The buildings are a little bit more accurate. It's all just more appropriate for, you know, for a theme park. And I think it looks pretty solid. I like this a lot better than a lot of my parks. Did I overdo it with the trees? Maybe a little. I'm not perfect, but especially with this coaster right here, I like this coaster a lot. I think someone mentioned that it only has right turns. Didn't think about that, I'll be honest. But I think it looks like a coaster you might see in real life. This station platform looks like something you might see in real life. And, you know, I think all of these coasters kind of fit and they mesh together well. And I think this is kind of a good indicator of where my skills are currently. Sorry, my camera stopped recording halfway through halfway through my monologue. But yeah, this video, again, is just to kind of let everybody know, like, hey, you don't have to be, like, amazing at scenery right off the bat when you start playing. Like, if you haven't played in a long time, you played when you were a kid, and now you're seeing OpenRCT2 and Classic and all that stuff, and you're like, oh wow, I could never figure that out. It just takes some practice. It's like anything. You just gotta build. You just gotta practice with it. You'll get better over time. And even I'm not the best. I am in awe of some people. Like, definitely check out Warrior, check out Dirklink, check out Water Cooler, check out SimFox. There's some people that like make stuff that blows my mind. And Brian Andrusek. Yeah, check out all of them if you're into that, if you want to see people build some really crazy stuff. But yeah, it just takes some practice. Keep at it. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.